Welcome in, y'all. Timeshare Clarence. It's June 20th, 2024. And this morning, I didn't really know what I wanted to talk about until right before I hit record. But I wanted to do this video about mental health. And I know I spoke about mental health before, but it's not something that's going to go away. It's not something that I'm going to speak about one time and then feel like that's it, because it is something that I struggle with, and I know a lot of people around me struggle with, and I don't know how much people actually talk about it. We talk about work all of the time. We talk about sports all of the time. We talk about money all of the time, goals, ambitions, all of that stuff. But mental health, I don't think we talk about it that much. At least, I don't feel like the people in my circle talk about it that much. I think people acknowledge it, but I don't really think it's a lot of conversations had about it. So anyway, with that being said, I have a veterans peer report group that we have a video conference every Tuesday, and I share with them that I was really frustrated with my care in the VA as far as it pertains to mental health. I think the best care or support I felt like I got was when I was actually in the Army and I was at Fort Drum. But when I really analyze it, it was primarily because I did have a men's group. So when I was at Fort Drum, we used to meet every Wednesday and just discuss our issues. But I think the one-on-one sessions with, psychologists, it was very frustrating. I think psychiatrists, it was even more frustrating, because I just felt like they weren't necessarily listening, or they weren't necessarily helpful in the sense of, obviously I'm seeking help, but that doesn't mean I know what I need, or I know what I need to do. That's why I'm coming to somebody else, and just to prescribe drugs, and really not help somebody actually resolve the issues or get to the root of the issues, because that was my perception. Because every time I saw any type of psychologist or psychiatrist on TV, it was like their main focus was like, let's get to the bottom of this. Let's analyze where these feelings are coming from. What's the root cause of this stuff, and see if we can address it. And I just felt like everybody I talked to pretty much was just like not even trying to get to the bottom of everything, versus kind of just put a mask on everything or figure out whatever symptoms I had. But there was never a lot of guidance. Ironically, when I first got out of the military, I remember, and I struggle with names, and that's something that I'm starting to work on more, even if I gotta make notes or whatever. Like, the struggle is real. I see people every day, and I'm like, man, what the hell is his name? And like, I know his name, and start with a, so that type situation. So I don't remember any of their names. I just remember situations, conversations, and it's like, I remember one of them, we were having a conversation about parenting, and she was telling me how, she didn't really know if she want to have kids, and how expensive she heard that kids are, and how many changes you got to make, and just the impact of having kids. And I share my perspective, which was, I think life is expensive in general, right? So if you add kids to it, it may become overwhelming, but it wasn't just because of the kids. I think people put all of the, assign all of the, and I don't want to say fault, but they attribute it to having kids. And it's like, yeah, but if you didn't have kids, the difference in my rent versus me having because no matter what, I would at least have a 2-bedroom. Because somebody might need to stay over. And that's how I always have been. So worst case, if I have kids, I gotta get a couple more bedrooms. All right. So if I gotta get, even if I gotta get a 4 or 5 bedroom, the difference in the price between that, okay, that I can attribute to the kids. But the base, I was gonna have to pay that anyway. So if my rent would be $1,200 if I got a 2 bedroom, but it's $1,700 to get a place big enough to accommodate my kids, then I'm like, it cost me $1,700. And I don't want to ramble, but I was just giving her these scenarios. Like, people don't account for the cost that was already there. They just assign all of the cost to the kids. I'm paying $600, $1,000 in groceries. And it's like, yeah, but without kids, you was paying $5. So, you know what I mean? Whatever. Like, it is an additional responsibility and financial consideration should, to have kids, of course. But like, you can't make it like kids are gonna make your cost of living $8,000. So, but you're not looking at the fact that you was gonna spend $5,500 regardless. So like, it's not 8,000, it's 2,500 or it's 3,000, whatever the case is. So anyway, once we had that conversation, it's kind of like the sessions after that, I felt like she was asking me more questions to get my advice than even really help me. And, it's frustrating, or when I'm being asked to describe stuff that I don't really know how to describe. So this is the point that came up in my group that I wanted to share, because after I shared, a lot of the veterans, thanked me and told me that it's something that they struggle with and they never really knew how to articulate it. But when I said it, it resonated with them. So even if it's just to help some people understand a little bit about what I feel like is common with veterans as far as interacting with other people, we've been conditioned, a lot of us have been conditioned to not take feelings into account. When somebody's talking to us, when somebody's giving us an order, when we're giving somebody an order, like, we've been taught that the last thing that matters are your feelings. The thing that matters is the mission. Whatever we need to get done takes priority over your feelings. And if you show your feelings in the military, it's a sign of disrespect. Like, I don't know that people really understand the impact of that when you're dealing with a military person and it's about feelings, because we've been conditioned to not only not express our feelings, but not even process our feelings, to bury our feelings so deep that they have no impact on our actions one way or the other. And when it's repressing fear, repressing anxiety, repressing depression, worry, anger, frustration, disappointment, then it's like, okay, that's what you got to do to accomplish the mission. And that's cool. And everybody cool with that, because nobody wants you to express anger and fear and all this stuff. But like, you repress everything else. So then people don't know how to deal with the fact that you're not outgoing. You're not expressing positive emotions either. It's a double-edged sword. So we've been taught to repress. We've been forced to repress emotional responses. So that's hard to do. And then just go back into a civilian dynamic and interact with people that there's no way that they understand. And being frank, most veterans don't even process or understand that. And the only reason I'm at the point that I am is because I just recently started really digging into the whys of the way I think and how I behave, because I've commented on it in countless situations. In counseling, ask me how I feel. I don't know. I just feel off. Well, what does that mean? there are certain things that I'm supposed to do. And if I'm not in a position to do them, if I'm not in the right mindset, if I don't have the resources to do it, or if I do and I don't get it done, like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I felt this, or that. I'll be like, I'm off. I feel off. I know I'm not right, because if I was right, I'll be able to execute whatever this mission is. And I'm not trying to be dramatic. That's really how it is. If I don't have what I need, if I didn't do what I was supposed to do, like, I'm going to process that information as I'm not operating at my optimum level. I'm off. I don't know if I'm depressed. I don't know if I'm dealing with anxiety. I don't know if I'm frustrated. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just know I'm off. And so I shared that with them, and a lot of veterans felt the same way. And then the conversation shifted to just that's not only a military thing, but as a society in America, I think most men have, to a certain extent, been raised and been conditioned to ignore their feelings or not express their feelings, or associate expressing certain feelings with weakness. So it's hard. And a lot of us are trying, and a lot of us that aren't trying is because we're not even aware. So a little bit of understanding, a little bit of grace, and it doesn't just apply to military members or veterans or men, but everybody. The point is, you don't really know what someone's going through. And sometimes they don't even know what they're going through. So I think we really need to be careful with being judgmental, with being combative, being defensive. And instead of always trying to agree or disagree with somebody, like, really set out to try to understand them, or even if you have the ability to try to help them understand themselves, because it's a lot of us out here that's fighting these internal battles and wars. And on the outside, people feel like we're mean. People feel like we're antisocial. People feel like we're arrogant. A lot of different ways that people can interpret the way someone behaves when they're off, when they don't know why they don't feel like they should feel, when they don't know why they don't have the motivation to do what they know they should do, when they know this is not a normal response. Like, when my grandma died, I don't know how I felt. It was processing information for weeks, if not months. Like, new information, grandma's not here anymore. Like, all right, accept it. But then the emotional component, like, I don't know when it kicked in, but like months later, then I found myself crying, really processing the loss. I don't know that I've done that with my dad yet. And he been gone for a couple years. And I know I haven't done it with my grandfather, because, like, in a weird way, I'm trying to figure out how much of them is in me and how much responsibility I have to share or provide the contributions that they gave me to my success and my development, to pass that on to the next generation, or even just people I care about, if it's not people in my family, because I felt like that's how we evolve as a society, by sharing information that may potentially lead to better outcomes. So anyway, that's all I got this morning, man. Like, show a little grace, a little mercy, be less judgmental. You know, you don't know what people going through, and sometimes if you listen, then you'll realize they may share something that actually shines some insight into what you're going through, or something you may have been struggling with, and you just didn't know how to articulate it. You just didn't know the words, or have a scenario that made it crystal clear to you. So anyway, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Until next time, Tom Sir Clarence. Peace.